So welcome back to the part 2 of our video. We're going to be continuing with our analysis. The first analysis we actually dealt with how to clean our data. So in this part 2, we're going to be talking about creating our calendar table and diving more deeper into our analysis. So before I proceed, I would like to rename this to our fact table. This is a fact table. Then I'll click on enter. I'll right click and I'll change this to tab color. Then I'll choose the color I actually want. So if I'll click on there's nothing here, I'll delete this. And now we have this our fact table. We want to create our calendar table from this table. So for those of us that don't have Power Pivot, well, I'm going to show you how to include your Power Pivot in your tab here. So this is what you need to do. Now let's say for example I don't have this my Power Pivot here, like you don't have yours. Go to the file, then go to more, then go to options. So that's what it come up from options. You click on add-ins. Click on add-ins. So add-ins, then the manage drop down. You click on the drop down there. Click on the drop down, then click on come ads in, then click on go. So you see this in my own case I already have Power Pivots for Excel. That's why I have it checked, right? So in your own case, if you don't have it up there before now, it's going to be unchecked. So you just need to check it, like the way I check mine. Then I'll click on, and you click on OK. So when you click on OK, you will come up here. You see that it has already shown Power Pivots. So we want to include this fact table to our data model. And I told you that, as we all know, Power Pivots is used for modeling data from two different sheets. So I'll click on this. After clicking on any point in our data set, then I'll come up here. Then I'll click on Power Pivots. Then I'll click on Add to Data Model. So let's wait. So let's wait till it come up. So now it has already taken me to my Power Pivot. So now I have my data inside my Power Pivots. So let's check about the diagram. What's actually going on here? This is my data. Then I'll click on this diagram view. So we have it here. Index, date, revenue, and customer review with program, product name, and UX review. So this is where we're going to do our modeling. Modeling is just like a picture representation of how your data is being connected to each other. So we will let's go to home. Now I'll go to design. I want to create a calendar table. Then I'll go to the date table drop down, click on that. Then I'll click on home. So what this one does is that it picks the dates from here and starts dates from this date and increment it to the last day. So like this is the calendar table, right? So it's going to create a column called date. Now let's say for example we have like 2 or 5 dates inside here, or 3 or 4 dates that transaction took place in this aspect. But what calendar days does is that it actually record that date as just one entry. But in this our case, it may record this as 5 entry or 7 entry, like maybe like 7 transactions took place in a day. This our date here, we record it into 7 times. But the calendar year will just record it just one time. So it's going to be a many to one relationship. So I'll drag this down. I don't want my dates hierarchy. So I'll click on it, I'll right click, then I'll say delete. I'll click on delete from model. So there we go. So we'll click on the date. I'll click and drag this to our date calendar. So we've created a relationship between them. As you can see, this is a one to many relationship. This is a one to many relationship. Like I said before, meaning that one date entry here represents 2 or more entry in this date. So go to home. We are done with what you want to do here. Then we'll actually just like no, there's something we need to do. I want to go to the data view. So we have our calendar here. So if I want to go to my facts table, I can click here, just the way you have it in Excel. My calendar table, I'll click here. So in my calendar table, I want to make this January to be like 3 letter words, like Jane, Jan. So I'll click here. I'll change this to January. JS. If I remove one M, then I'll have MMM. Then I'll click enter. So I'll have it like JAN. So the Friday, I'll click here. I'll come here, backspace. I'll click on enter. So I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So it has actually helped us to abbreviate it. The next thing we're going to do is we don't need this person here, but we're gonna leave it. We can actually go to the diagram view. I would say we don't need this as well. Right click, then I'm going to delete this. Say delete from model. So now we have this. Then the next thing we want to do is we still want to come here. Let's go to the home. Let's go to the data view. Okay, after we'll come back to that. Let's cancel this. So we are done with that. We're done with our connection. We're done with what we want to do. If we also see our calendar table, it's not going to show here. You're going to see it when we start creating our pivot table. So back to our objective. Remember you said, let me try to bring it up. Sorry, let me try bring it up under, that should be under my desktop. Then I'll go to scale ahead portfolio. Then I'll go to what's it called, reports. Yeah, then I'll go to, no, I can't show it here. Class material. Okay, let me just click on any of these and I'm sure it's gonna bring it up. So let's wait for that to come up. Just want to check our objective that we were actually working on. So we'll be on the same No, this is not. Okay, yeah, there it is. This is it, what you're actually working on. So back to our objective, we say we actually want to, the steps we're going to take, we've done with the cleaning. Now we want to start analyzing our primary KPI and secondary KPI. So let's start from our secondary KPI, which is revenue by product. So I'll come back to my Excel, then I'll create a pivot table. I'll say I'll go to, so some of the system might really not be showing like this. The way I did my system was like I actually come to this place and you can change the option here and make it always show ribbon. So it's going to be showing ribbon. But I add my own because I wanted to do dashboard then. So I'll go to insert pivot table drop down and I'll click on from table stroke range. Then I'll say add this to data model. Then I'll click on OK. So this has created a new pivot table for me. So what's the work of a pivot table? A pivot table is used for summarizing a data for you to answer a problem. So I'll rename this to revenue by product. Revenue by product. I'll click on enter. Then I'll go down to my revenue. I'll drag it down to values. Get my product name. I'll bring it down to my rows. So we have it here. Dell, HP, Lenovo, Samsung. These are the revenue they generated. So the next one is let's color this. Let's give it a color that we actually want. So let's go to our parts table. Then we'll create the next question we're actually looking at. We're going to look for what's it called? US review by number of transaction. So I'll come to this place. I'll go to insert pivot table drop down from table stroke range. I'll check this. I'll click on OK. So I'll rename this to US review. Click on enter. So we actually want to know what our customers are actually saying based on our user interface, because customer can actually want to buy from your website, and at the same time they might find it very difficult to navigate in your website, so which might in turn reduce your revenue. Let's go to US review and put that in the rows. Then we're going to use our index because we want to look at the frequency. Then put that in count. So the highest is very bad, so that one hit transaction said their internet their websites, or what's it called, their website's interface was bad. So the very good, which is the 20%, went to 81 people. So let's click on this. You notice that this what is it called, is not arranged according to the way we want it. We want it to be from very good, very bad, bad, neutral, good, and very good. So we're going to rearrange this. So we can notice that it actually helps us to arrange it alphabetically in alphabetical order. So I'll click on very good. So what are very good to be at the top here. So I'll bring down my mouse. I'll bring it down to this place. I'll make it, click on this. Okay, yes, something like that. Click and I'll bring it up. You can see something is not showing yet. I'll click here again. I'll set on this badge. You notice that if I want to actually move it, I'll check. Look at it. It's showing me 4 cardinal points. This is when I can now click on it and I'll drag down. You understand? So if I want to move this neutral, I'll click here too as well. I'll make it show that 4 cardinal points. Then I'll click, then I'll drag up. Then I'll have it very bad, neutral, good, and very good. So there we go. The next one is we want to check for our, let me see, revenue by year and month. Revenue by year and month. So let's come here and go to insert, go to pivot table drop down, click on this. I'll check this. I'll say okay. So it's going to be revenue, bring to value, revenue. So now we can see, notice that we don't have our calendar here. So for us to see our calendar that we created in our pivot table, power pivot, we're going to click on the all. So it's going to show us the calendar that we created. So we click on this drop down. This is the calendar that we created. So we say we need the year and the month. So drag month down here. So this one's going to give us the trend from April. So we're going to rearrange this too as well. But there's 2 ways for us to rearrange this. We can arrange this from our power pivot, or we arrange it here. Whichever case will actually work for us. But to make our process very fast, we'll come here in our power pivot. We click on manage. And then we click on year calendar. The reason why we are able to rearrange this, that is to sort it, is because we actually have our month number. If our month number is not there, it is very difficult for us to sort it. So we're going to click on the month. After selecting the month, we click on the sort by column. We say sort by column. Then we say sort month by what. We click on the drop down. We say month number. It's meaning that what I'm doing is that I want you to sort my months based on this number. So anywhere you see 1, make sure you tie it to January. So I'll click on OK. Then that's done. I can cancel this. So we notice that that's changed: January, February, March, and April. So there you go. We can now, let's see what our chart is going to look like. Go to pivot table, analyze, and I would like to use a line chart. So this is it. So let's cancel this and see let's continue what we're doing. So I'll rename this to sales trend. I'll click on enter. So I'll change the tab color. I'll use something different. I may use this color. So the last secondary KPI we're going to be using, let me check our objective. The last secondary KPI I'm going to be looking for is revenue by the days of the week. Revenue by the days of the week. So I'll go back to my data. That is my first table. I'll click on insert. I'll create it. That means I'm trying to create a new pivot table. Click on drop down. I'll say from table stroke range. Then I'll click on, I'll check the add this data to data model. Then I'll click on OK. So here we go. I'll bring in my revenue down to the values, and my day I'll bring in, okay, no, we can't find a day here. I can check it here in the all. I'll click on drop down. Days of the week, I'll drag it to my row. So we have it. So we notice here too as well is arranging it as alphabetical order and not in the days of the week. And let's go back to our power pivots. We click on manage. So I'm going to click I'll select days of the week. Then I'll say click on the drop down, sort by. I say days of the week. Click on the drop down, say days of the week number. Then I'll click on OK. Then I'll cancel this. So now we have it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So let's rename this to revenue by day of week. Enter. So let's start bringing our charts from here. Let me first do this, right click and then bring in color. So I want to start bringing in my charts. I'll click here, go to power table analyze, go to pivot charts, and I'll click on, let me use a line chart. Then I'll click on OK. But this chart is actually showing us for both, and this is a cumulative chart. But remember, we have 2 years. So what Sunday is going to give us is going to be like a cumulative of both previous year and this year, and it's going to do the graph for us. But we want to see based on the 2 years. So I'm going to come down to my year and drag it down to my legends. So now we have 2 years. It's going to be Sunday. This is going to be 2020. This is 2022, and this is 2021. It shows that there is more revenue generated in 2021 compared to 2022, which is down here. And they sells more on Friday, whereas they sells more on Saturdays. They sell more on Friday in 2021, and they sell more on Saturdays in 2022, and they sell list on Friday in 2022 from what we are seeing here. So let's go down to the next. So let's bring in our chart here as well. Click here, say pivot charts. So I'm going to use a line trend because it's a trend chart, and I'll click here. So there's a steep or sharp drop from January down to April. It went up back again, then it dropped down again. So this is what we're trying to actually solve, and it shows that the business is actually suffering for drop in revenue. So let's go to US review, and we're going to use a column chart for this. So we click on pivot table analyze, then we click on pivot charts, then we use this. Okay, then we'll bring this here as well. So revenue by products. So we're going to click on pivot table analyze, we click on pivot charts, then we're going to use this as well. So we have this Dell HP, and so what's the trying to say us? It's going to tell us that Dell is a highest Dell is I mean HP is the highest selling laptop, followed by the list is Samsung, why Dell comes second when it comes to generation of revenue. So let's go ahead and start creating our KPI. So for our KPI, we would create a new pivot table for that. And remember that we say our KPI is going to be um, our KPI is going to be total revenue, total transaction, average order value, and growth rate. So let's go back. We're going to create a go to insert pivot table drop down. I would say from table stroke range, and I'll check this and I'll say okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to start writing our DAX. So now, what is DAX? DAX is the forming of DAX is data analysis expression. So when I want to speak to a Zoho, I want to do some aggregates that I don't have in my column. DAX is mainly used for creating measures and calculated column. But most of the time, I use DAX to create measures in my Excel project. So I really want to use DAX to be able to get my total revenue. Remember, you can actually come here and drag your revenue and drop down here. You understand? Yes, the system automatically sum up the revenue inside a column and give you the result. But in my own case, the reason why I want to actually use DAX to sum it up myself is I'm going to be using that to calculate my um, year-to-year growth. That is the CY. Remember that to calculate our year-to-year growth is current year revenue minus previous year revenue divided by previous year revenue times 100, right? So for us to get our current year revenue, we are going to use the function called time intelligence function. So now, what is a time intelligence function? Time intelligence functions is a function in DAX that actually deals with date. And I say from the beginning of our program of this tutorial, if you want to achieve a time intelligence function, you need to create your calendar dates. That was the main reasons why we actually created our calendar dates separate from our fact table. So for us now dive deep into this, let's start creating our measures. So I'm going to remove this. I want to first create my measures for total revenue. So I'll come up here, I'll right click, you see a small box up here. I'll right click and I'll say add measures. So now I have it now. This is my measure name. The measure name is very compulsory. You need to put it. I'll say total revenue. So I have it here. I'll say sum. That's downstroke from my keyboard, and I'll click on tab. So I'll have it here. I'll come down to, I'll look for it. The good thing about when you're writing DAX in Excel, it help you, it give you options. So when you're writing your DAX and you know that it's not giving you option, definitely you're doing something wrong, because Excel know what you're actually trying to do. So it gives you the option to be able to do what you want to do. So now I want to sum up our what's it called, total revenue. So if we want to locate a if we want to locate a column in a table, you need to first locate the table. And remember that our table name is fact table. And remember that we want to locate our total revenue. So we're going to first locate the table, then next is going to be the column. So that's why we have fact table, which is the table, then the column. So I'll double click on this, so it comes out there, and I'll close the bracket. So remember, sum is a function in DAX. It's just saying that help me sum this column. So we're going to change this to currency, yes, and we'll leave this as dollar sign. Then we'll um, click on OK. So this one will show up here as our total revenue. So I'm going to drag this and put it in my value. So it comes out as my total revenue. So the next one we actually want to get is our total number of transactions. So I would have clicked here and drag it to this place. It's going to show, but I want to create a measure for that as well. I'll come up here, right click, I'll say add measure. So I'll say count, tab, then I'll drag down to double click, close the bracket, number. Remember, I've not written my measures name, that's why it's not showing me to create. Okay, so I need to put in my measure name. So this is going to be total transaction, total transaction. So I would yeah, I'll leave this at this. I'll make this O number, then I'll click on OK. So I'll come down to that transaction here. So what's the next thing? Right click, add measure. So I would want to do what's it called? The next one will be average order value. Average order value is the formula for getting an average order value is total revenue divided by total number of transactions. So that will be total revenue tab divided by total transaction tab. So I'm going to change this to average order value. Then I would change this to currency. I'll click on OK. So my average order value, then I'll drag it down to this. So it means that on an average, my customer spend $1,333 in one purchase on an average. So let's go down to the next one. We want to calculate for growth rate now. So I'll right click this and I'll say add measure. So what am I going to do now? I want to calculate for the first one I'm going to calculate for CY revenue, that is the current year revenue. Then the current year revenue, I'll say total YTD tab, and our expression is going to be total YTD total revenue tab, comma, calendar date, then I'll close my bracket. I'll put this as currency, then I'll make this okay. Yeah, so the next one is I want to get for PY revenue. Add measure PY revenue. So this DAX formula I want to write, remember that we don't have previous year when it comes to 2021 because the year is just 2 years. 2021 and 2022. So I will write it the way I'm meant to write it, but we'll still come back and modify this because at the end of the day we'll be having error when we click on 2021, which we don't have a previous year. So I want to show us the reason why I would not want to just like give us the solution like that. So I want us to see if I've written my DAX formula like this, what would have happened if I did not actually create a way for me to undo the error. So I will actually go on by writing this DAX formula this way, calculate, and I'll say total revenue tab, uh, comma, then it's going to ask for my filter. I'll say same period last year. Same period last year means that at when I click on 2022, so it's going to give me for the revenue for the same period last year for 2022, which is 2021, because my current year is 2022. If I say same period last year, referring that I'm saying for 2022 for 2022 the same period last year, which is going to be 2021. You understand? So I will just come here, same period last year, I'll say calendar date tab, then I'll come here, then close the bracket. So I'm going to close the bracket twice because number one, same period last year is a function, then I'll close the bracket again. So I need to close the bracket for the same period last year one, then I'll close the bracket for calculate, and I have to close the bracket as well. Then I'll change this to currency. I'll click on OK. So I want to calculate my growth rate now. I'll come here, right click, and say add measure. So what's my measure name? Growth rate. I'll say CY revenue divided by PY revenue. So I'll come here and close my bracket. Come here, close my bracket, and say PY revenue, double tab, changes to it's gonna be a percentage. I say number, drop down as a percentage. Yeah, now click on OK. Okay, now we have it like this. Let's click on, let's bring it down to this. Showing 0%. Why it should not show 0%? Right click, Epic start, current year revenue divided by previous year revenue. Oh, sorry, this should be minus, not divide. This way, current year revenue minus previous year revenue divided by previous year revenue. So that's where I fixed that. Then I'll click on OK. So we should get difference. So now you see the rate growth rate was minus 35%, which is very alarming. So let's bring in our slicer. Let's see if these our KPIs are actually really working. Let's go to pivot table analyze, then we look for slicer. This is our insert slicer here. So we're not going to use the want to bring in for year, which are year 2021 and 2022. So I'll click on all, then I'll click on the year, I'll click on OK. So I would like to do a report connection. Let me do a report connection. So I'll connect to audio pivot table. So I'll click on okay. So now let me click on 2020. You can see we have it. So that means at this 2022 there was a growth rate of minus 35, right? So when I click on 2021, you can see that we have error here. So we need to fix this error. You understand? That was the error I was talking about when I was trying to write the DAX formula then. So reason why we're getting this error because we don't have 2020. There's no previous year for us to compare 2021. So I'm going to cancel this and go back to our measure and do some how to error and do the error. So I'll click here. So I'll go back to my growth rates, right click, I'll say edit measure. So good. But before now, let's come back here. This is our current previous year revenue. Let's edit this. So this is going to be, we're going to use our if statement here. I'll say if, I click on tab, equals to blank tab, comma, I'll put on shift enter to go to the next place. What I'm trying to say is that if this person here comes as a blank, because remember that we don't have a previous year, so when we click on 2021, yes, we were going to have a blank, because when we click on 2021, it's actually trying to bring in the revenue for 2020, and we don't have 2020 in our date. So that's why we need to pass the condition that if this function comes out as blank, what do you want me to do? If it comes out as blank, give me 0. Let's come here and say give me 0. I'll click on comma, then we'll click shift and enter. So we've written these statements that if this person here comes as a blank, give me 0. So I will select this up to this point. I'll select this up to this point. I want this Control C. I'm going to shift and enter and do Control V here. So what I'm trying to say is that this is a logical test. If this person comes out as blank, give me 0 as my result. Else, if this person is not blank, give me, calculate this stuff for me, then I will close this as well. So I'll say, let me check my DAX. My DAX is correct. My currency, everything is correct. Then I'll remember we have like 3 brackets here. Reason because we need to close our if statement, because our if statement is covering both this first one and the last one. So now click on OK. So now here we go. We've actually have done 50% for us to clear our error. We still need to do something more again. We still need to come to our growth rates and edit that as well. So now remember that if previous year comes out as 0, and let's say we have our revenue generated for this. Okay, let me just use this one. Let me click on this so that we can actually see the beauty of what we're trying to solve. So let me click on 2020. We still have this. So let me click on this 2021. We still have the error, right? Okay, now let's right click this and click on edit. So in our growth rates, if this person comes out as 0, Excel does not divide 0. So we need to use another function called div. Div will be the one to help us handle this error. So we can cancel this. I will say backspace, backspace. I will say divide tab. What's our numerator? Our numerator is CY revenue tab. Then we'll say comma. Our denominator is PY revenue. Then we'll say comma. What's going to be our alternate result? Our alternate result is going to be 1. So we'll close this. Reason why I actually use 1 was that, if this person here, because divide help us to undo error, if this divided by this will give me an error, don't give me error, just show me 1. You understand? Because we notice that yes, we'll be having error when we click on 2021. 2021 does not have a previous year, which is 2020. You understand? So if I click on my slides, that will be 2021. This year will be 0. You understand? Here will come out as 0. And when this thing comes out as 0, and like I said, Excel does not divide a number divided by 0. It comes out as error. So once that thing comes out as error, instead of giving us error, it shows us 1 as the alternate figure. So I would say minus 1. Yes, minus 1 in the sense that mathematically speaking, based on our formula, we said that CY revenue divided by PY revenue minus CY revenue minus PY revenue divided by PY revenue is the same thing as you saying CY revenue divided by PY revenue minus 1. Mathematically is the same thing. You understand? So this will help us to undo that error and help us do our calculation where we check our dash formula, it is correct, then we'll click on OK. So now we can now test again. Let's click on 2021. I see we're not having error again, we're having 0% because there is no previous year to use to compare the present year, which is 2021. So that is working fine now. We do it 2020, that's minus 30% drop. So now we are done with that. Let's cancel this and let's rename this to KPI and click on enter. Just right click this, tab color, then we'll choose this color. So the next step here is we want to start creating our dashboard. So that's going to be our part 3 of our tutorial. Part 3 of our tutorial. Please don't forget to like, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I share it to your friends. I'll always update you with new updates and new trends that's going on in the data analysis world. So thank you for taking your time to watch my video. I really appreciate your efforts and your contributions to my channel. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.